Hey everyone, hope you are all doing awesome. I'm here with Ben. We're going to talk with Ben in a little bit about what's he been up to, DEITS and TypeScript, all the fun stuff. But before then, just going to go through some of the slides to kind of talk about what's been happening. And let me know in the comments if where you're from, how's the weather. Love to hear about it. And I hope you all having a great time. I know we have a lot of people jumping on. One new thing that we started to do is we started to do a little contest on these community calls, which you have an opportunity to win some merch, which is pretty cool. But I'll tell you more about it. And if you were here in the last community call and you completed the form, you might be the winner today. So stay tuned. We will talk about it, but it's going to be a great stream, a lot of fun stuff to talk about. So welcome to Community Call, April 2023. We decided that we're going to do them the last Thursday of every month, just to kind of make sure that we have all the things and always try to match the cycle of releases, but sometimes it's not perfect. So it's okay, but we're going to keep going. We're going to talk about what's been happening, what's new in 4.9. We're going to talk about things with Ben, which is awesome. Really awesome to see people from the team coming onto the stream. I'd like to encourage more to come on, and we'll do our best. But I know our team is really busy working on all these awesome features. But everybody's saying hello here. Hello, Carl. Good to see you. Bram saying hi. Rob saying hi. Hello, Rob. Jeerd saying hello. And if I mispronounce the names, I apologize in advance. But let's get right into it. And howdy from Florida. Nice. Hello, Amelia. Nice. We have like international crowd here. I'm personally like in Texas. I know, Ben, I believe you're in Italy, correct?
Yeah, I'm in Rome.
Oh, nice. Fantastic. So amazing. Love the international crowd. And those saying hello. Yeah. And so, man, all these folks jumping in. Amazing. Bobby, Scott's here. Great to see you. And everybody's doing amazing. From Scott saying hola from Riga, Bobby here from Tennessee, Netherlands. Man, I love this crowd. Everybody's super awesome. We have such a diverse community, Strappy, and that is the best. And so we're going to talk about all these community cool things. So let's get started. What's been happening? Super important. So to make these streams a little bit fun, what I've been doing is decided let's every stream have a cool contest, so you have the ability to win some Strappy merch, and I'll announce the winner from the last stream. But to play the game, it's super easy. I'm going to share a link with all of you in the chat, and all you have to do is just kind of let us know what's a cool project you built with Strappy, put your name, and if you want to participate, leave your email, and every following stream we announce the winner. But I'm going to put the form there. You could check it out. Just wanted to make things a little bit more fun, and we'll announce last week's winner in a little bit. And so one big announcement, we started thinking about planning for Strapi V5. So we have Derek has set up a V5 steering committee, and the point of this meeting is to get community feedback and be transparent about all the things that we want to do in Strapi V5. And as we're starting to plan these things, we're looking for a diversified group, not just developers, not just plugin maintainers, not just content managers and editors, but regular users that use Strapi day to day. And I'm also going to share that form with you in the chat, because if you'd like to participate, these are going to be meetings. They'll be recorded if you just want to watch them, and shared publicly. Again, talking about the discussion, how to work with this stuff. And somebody said link doesn't work, and let me double check that. Oh, I see why the link wouldn't work, because it's not the public one. So give me a minute. I'll make sure to get the right and correct link for everybody. My apologies in advance. You know, when you're preparing for the streams, nothing goes as you plan. It's like, oh, that's what happened. All right, but I'll get the link for you in just a moment. Let me log into my account, and we'll go there, because I do want to make sure, I want to hear your feedback, and more importantly, I want to have you participate in the conversation and have you all win some cool merch. So let me, while I get the link, I'll do that quickly, because it's important. It's important. So thank you for letting me know in the comments that the link doesn't work. And before we continue, let me share the link here. And let's see here. Okay. Interesting. Yep, one moment. Okay, so I'll throw the link in the chat in just a moment. Typeform sometimes is not as clear. Copy link, that makes sense. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna throw the new link here. Let me know if this works. Thank you so much for letting me know with the link. Here's the new link. Let me know if it works. And thank you for calling me out on that. Thank you. So we continue on moving forward. So I threw the link for the Strapi steering committee. We would love to have your participation. We want to make sure that we hear everybody's feedback. It really will help us to plan Strapi V5. And we don't want to make the same mistake we made when we went from V3 to V4, not really being too transparent about some of the decisions we made. And I know there's a lot of conversation around the structure of our response, having, ID attribute, and we don't want to make that mistake again. So we encourage you to really participate in the steering committee to make sure that we think about Strapi version 5 in the open together. And I think that'll be super awesome. So thank you for that. And again, the link for the competition that I sent, perfect. It works. Thank you so much for letting us know. So the link that I shared, 2 links. One link is we're doing every time someone participates in each monthly stream, you have a chance to win some merch. And I also shared the link for the steering committee. So awesome. So next, I do want to announce this again because Strapi is always trying to find ways to bring more value to you all. And our RBAC role-based access control system in the community edition was limited. I believe you only had 3 roles. And if you wanted to make additional roles, that was part of our enterprise edition. And so literally, I believe last month, because this month is practically end, so I don't like my days and weeks flow. But we literally released RBAC in the community edition. You have all the full features that were supported in the enterprise edition, in the community edition for free. And that is really awesome because now you have very granular control for your admin users to have the ability to kind of dictate what rights and what access they're able to do. So you could have your writers, your editors, your content manager, what have you, and they all have specific rights. And you could literally set it on the field level. So if you haven't played with the RBAC edition, I highly recommend you check it out. We also created, with Trisha, Daniel, and we created a new Strapi starter. I'll throw the link in a second. It's built with Next 13 using the beta app folder because we just wanted to use the bleeding edge. And it was also fun to try something new. And we're all new to TypeScript, but this was our TypeScript learning project. But we built it. I'll throw the GitHub link for all of you to check it out. And the point of this project is just to have a Strapi starter Next.js project for all you. And but it's also to kind of encourage participation. So feel free to look through the code. Feel free to add additions, do PRs. We want this to be a community-led project. So let me go ahead and share the link with all of you because it's always nice when we all work together. And I see love for Tailwind. That's right. I was a late adapter to Tailwind, and once I discovered it, I was like, I'll never look back. Tailwind is pretty awesome, especially if you just want to not hassle or fight too much CSS. I guess this is my opinion. I'd like to spend more time doing JavaScript, but everybody has their opinions. Doesn't mean that mine is correct. But yes, you're more than welcome to contribute. And one of the newer things that we started to do, like if you looked at our older starters, that I'll talk about a little bit in a second. But before we had to write some custom logic to import dummy data, it was a pain because you really have to do a lot of work yourself if you want to implement it. Now with our DEITS feature, it's very easy to see data because you could have your data, you could export it, and then you'll have the tar file that you could use to run, yarn Strapi import, point to that tar file, and easily import your data into your project, which I think is pretty awesome. And so, of course, we have Strapi Cloud. If you haven't been using Strapi Cloud, give it a try. It's pretty awesome. What I like about Strapi Cloud is the fact that it makes all these things simple. If you want to you're working for a client, you don't want to worry and have the hassle of deploying the project. You just want to create the website for them and push it to the cloud and not worry about the hassle, just so you could quickly go to their customers. And again, easy deployment. We support out of the box Postgres database. I made a video where you could also set up external databases if you need to. It's not necessary for most users, but some people have specific use case. You could also point to, even though we have an email provider out of the box that works, that you can send emails, you could also point to a third-party provider like SendGrid, and I made a video about that. So it's pretty awesome. And speaking of videos, we have Strapi Cloud playlist. So anytime we do something cool, or we show you, like sometimes like people have questions, well, how do you set up a third-party email provider, or how do you point to a database, or can you hook up other like I keep forgetting third-party image providers, like pointing to your AWS, or setting up Cloudinary. And so those are the things that when we get those implemented, we share those with you, so you have access to that. So let me share that video list with you, so you all stay up to date with all the new recent news and things that the cloud supports, which is pretty awesome. Or you could just go to our YouTube channel and check it out. But I have, and let me put it in the chat. We have a lot of teammates here in the chat. Fantastic. Bart saying hello. He's one of the Strapi. I always confuse a solution engineer, solution architect. He's a solution architect with Strapi. Great to have him. Awesome person. And let's say I see some questions. I see Endo says app directory feature next routine. Yeah, that's the one we decided to go with. I know it's not like, it's still in beta, but I think like I really like the app folder versus like using the pages. And so that's the way we decided to go. It's pretty cool. And if you haven't tried it, like try it out. It's really awesome. So moving forward, Strapi Conf coming June 7th, 2023. You can go register now. The website is up. I'm going to throw the link. It's going to be awesome. We have some really, really cool talks planned. It's going to be so exciting. And so anyone interested, the website is live. It's going to be on June 7th. You could go ahead and sign up, which is really awesome. And we have a Q2 community update that was done by Pierre. So we celebrated all of our achievements. I'll throw the link to the article post if you like, but I'll quickly show you the highlights. I know I have some code stuff. It's fine. Up, here we go. Q2 community updates. You could check it out, and it talks about all of our achievements going from 4.6 to where we are 4.9, where we introduced transfer pull for DEITS. So we completed that full cycle. We have DEITS export, import, and transfer, which allows you to push and pull data across different Strapi projects. So I'll share the link to this article. He kind of talks more about some of the things that we had in just recent update. We released private S3 buckets. Pretty awesome. And so if you're interested, you could check it out. I'll make sure to link it in the description. Again, just want to share all the updates with all of you of all the cool things that we've been doing. That's a great question, Bram. I think I spammed the link here. Okay. My comments here. So I said the link. Bram had a question. Why is the website company and Java required? That's a great question. But I'll find out. I think it's good to know information of where people work and what they do, just because it's interesting. It's kind of, we want to know where people are coming from. And so let's see here, back to my slides. I'm trying to make sure that I announce all the things. So last week's winner, so if you're wondering, we've been doing, I had a form. I'll share it again with all you. So every month, what we do is we do our, I want to make these streams more excited, and we'd like to hear more from you. And so every stream we do, we'll give you opportunity to win some merch, some cool Strappy t-shirts and stuff like that. And we decided that every stream we're going to do a little contest. The questions are super easy. This week is just let us know what you are building, a cool project you're building, and I'll share the link in the chat again. But last week's winner, let's announce here. It's Roni, and I have your email. I'll email you the link to get your amazing Strappy t-shirt. He is working, or she, I'm not sure, but correct me if I'm wrong, but they're working on a member service system for their local volunteer climbing club. Now members can register to become members on site, and every time one member want to climb, they just put in their member ID on the iPad and get a fast verify if they climb or not. Incorporate Stripe payments well, and I think it's kind of awesome. Like all these different ways that people using Strappy. It's not just like business websites, but it's creating little applications in terms of like here in this example, registering users for a climbing session, which is really cool. So you are the last week's winner. Congratulations, and we'll send you an email to where you could claim your amazing t-shirt. And yeah, nice. SS says cool project. Yeah, and I'd love to hear more. Like even in the chat, like let us know what you're building. I know there's different like what I love about Strappy, you could start like at any level of development. You could be a beginner front-end developer to a mid-level engineer to a senior back-end developer, and Strappy works out of the box with all the amazing features. But if you need to incorporate additional things, you could do so in code, which is fantastic. And just as a reminder, Monday through Friday, we hold Discord events at 12:30 p.m. CST. Derek and I are there in chat. Really, really good time to hang out. And if you're looking to learn more advanced to intermediate topics on best practices, every third Wednesday of the month on Discord, we hold our Strappy development best practices session. We had one yesterday. If you miss any of them, no worries. Just jump on Discord, and we have our best practices archive channel where you'll be able to see here, and I'll put the invites there. So I'm trying to finish up these important news quickly so we could get to Ben. I really want to have this conversation. So what's new in Strappy 4.9.9? I know we're on 0.2, and now we're about to release 10 if it was yesterday, but I made these slides with this in mind because the biggest things that we did transfer pull, and we'll talk more about it with Ben. And also now you have an ability to have private S3 buckets with Strappy, which is pretty awesome. And now finally, without any ado, okay, there's one more announcement, and then we get to Ben. So this is very important. So a lot of people, they hesitate to update their Strappy versions as they come out, but it's important because we release patches, updates, and fixes. And sometimes, we have security vulnerabilities that are pointed out by security researchers. Like Go CCAM, amazing shout out to him. He went beyond the Call of Duty to help us out to patch out some of the vulnerabilities he found. And Derek wrote a great blog about it. I'll go ahead and share the link for you if you haven't seen it. But I would also recommend checking out, and Derek links here in the blog, the more comprehensive, detailed explanation of the issues written by Go CCAM on his blog post. And so I'll share Derek's post here, but you could check it out. And what was like really amazing, that when the researcher reported the issues, Strappy was right on point, getting into it, starting to implement the fixes. And more importantly, CCAM said, wow, like I was really impressed by how quickly Strappy as a company responded and how quickly they started to work with me together and implementing these fixes. So with that being said, this is the important point to remember is staying up to date with your application is very, very important. So I just wanted to kind of mention that because I know sometimes we feel like, oh, it just came out. So maybe not like if you're a little bit hesitant, like, man, I don't want to switch yet, right away. Don't wait forever, 2-3 weeks. You're like, okay, you know what? Let me update to the newest thing. I've been trying to stay up to date with all my Strappy application. Okay, finally chatting with Ben. I'm really, really excited. And today's topic, first of all, Ben is amazing. He's really awesome. He's a senior backend developer at Strappy. And today we're going to talk about DEITS in general, kind of the concept, how, like the basic idea of it, how they came up with it. If you have questions, you could ask in the chat. And I know a lot of you love TypeScript, so we'll also chat with Ben about TypeScript because He really also, I believe, enjoys TypeScript. I was a late adapter to TypeScript, just recently started to, like I said, with that next startup project, started recently working with TypeScript. So, hey, Ben, how are you today? And thanks for joining us.
Hey, no problem. Yeah, it's never too late for TypeScript, so it's good that you're
Yeah.
finally on board.
I know, like Derek and I, we both like are like probably the last two people on the Strappy team that haven't
Yeah,
really committed to TypeScript. I like how you're like, yeah,
yeah.
like that's like the known
I
thing.
think with Derek, I think at this point it's just to be difficult. He's just doing
Yeah.
it for fun.
What's funny, I was talking to Derek, is it's like, yeah, I hate TypeScript, but I think I'm gonna have to also learn it and use it. But he's smart. He's gonna learn it in a day, probably. That's good.
Yeah. Right now we're doing a huge focus on TypeScript. That's our goal for this quarter, is just get all of the typings for all of Strappy and improve support for everything.
Nice.
Yeah,
awesome. Like before we talk a little more on TypeScript, and if people have questions they could ask about TypeScript, but first I want to talk about DEITS. So it's been in the works for a bit. We just finally released the latest feature of DEITS. So right now we have import, export, push, and pull. So before we get into like the features that we have, can you talk about the thinking behind why we needed to have these features and the planning process, and maybe talk about how it works in Strappy?
Sure. Is my audio better now?
Yes, it's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, great. So with DEITS, the goal was to provide a simple tool to get your data out and move between environments, and just make it really simple to move your Strappy data around, especially with Strappy Cloud coming, making sure that you can push your data to the cloud, pull it out, anything.
Yeah, nice. Because I know like going from V3 to V4, like one of the biggest like friction points was, even though we did have the migration script, there still were, edge cases that it didn't handle. And so there were like people that, outside of using script, had to manually write scripts to do data migration for their specific project. And I think having DEITS makes it way better for us. And going from V3 to, from V4 to V5 is just going to be so much easier with less friction. And so in terms of like, how does it work? Can you kind of talk us through the steps when someone, like, let's say, says Strappy yarn Strappy import or export, like what happens kind of in the background?
Okay, so all three of the commands actually have the same core. We have what we call the transfer engine, which has different providers for your data. So it can either read data from a file, from a remote Strappy, a local Strappy, and in the future we're going to add more, hopefully even open up to plugin support, so eventually someday people can write their own providers for it. And so those commands are just ways of connecting those providers together. So when you run a Strappy export, it asks your local Strappy for all the data, runs it through the engine. The engine makes it, it's all in a format that all the providers understand, so that it can just pass it out to the file and just write that to the file for you. Same with when you take your data and push it to the cloud, it asks it for the data in the exact same way and sends it to the cloud in the exact same way. So it's all very interchangeable.
Nice. And what format are you using to structure the data?
It actually transfers everything as streams.
Okay.
The transfer engine takes everything as streams, so it's as efficient as possible. It can be pulling data and sending data at the same time. Performance was one of our main goals, because we've worked with other tools in the past that were very slow. I know in my last job I worked with some tools that took 10 times as long, and it was driving me crazy. I would start a transfer and then go to lunch and come back. So we wanted to do as good as we could on performance here, and also keep it as flexible as possible. So it converts everything to streams.
Yeah, and can you talk a little bit about like when you export data from your local project, it creates like a tar file. Can you kind of talk what that consists of and how that data is stored?
Sure. Yeah. So when you run it without encryption, you can actually get it as a tar file, and you can open it up and look around. And inside that, there are entities and links and your schema. And those files are stored as JSON lines files, which is like JSON, but each line ending with a new line is one object. That makes it perfect for streaming. It's what is used for big data. So it doesn't matter how many records you have. We don't have to open the whole thing into memory at once. We can just read it one line at a time and get your data loaded in. And you can see that it's divided into those folders. It's very flexible for the future, so we can, you can actually edit those files directly if you want. If someone wanted to make their own backup file with their own tool, that's possible.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's really, really, really cool. And so the idea for eventually, because we're using the transfer engine in the background to do all of this, is to have the ability to someone say, hey, and this is down the road, this doesn't exist yet, but this is the underlying kind of planning that will help us or anyone to accomplish that, is if someone has a WordPress site, they could basically say, this is how the data is coming from WordPress, and this is how we want it to go to Strapi, and programmatically be able to do that.
Exactly. Yeah, that was our goal, was to be able to write anything that we want, and to even open it up to the community to write tools like that. So they would just write a tool that converts WordPress data into a Strapi format, like the entity format that we use, and it would immediately just start working with any other provider that we have. You could take your WordPress to a file, to Strapi, to remote.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And I know like a lot of people are gonna have a lot of questions. Like this part of Strapi is not yet documented, so you would have to at this point look at the code. But it is, because it's so new. We do have a plan to make sure that we share with all of you how it works, so you could start creating community built providers to handle imports and exports from various different places, like WordPress being one example. So we have Ron Miles asks questions. He says, is it possible to anonymize data during transfer, taking production data to a lower environment and anonymizing it specific fields?
That was designed into our initial plan, and we will get to that by using transforms on your data. Once the engine is opened up, you could provide a transform function, and every entity would be passed to that, and you would be able to do whatever you want to it. If there's a field you want to remove, you can just edit it out there. It's basically like a middleware for the transfer.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's coming in the future. Can't say when, but yeah.
Yeah, so
that's part of our design.
Yeah, so it's a lot of great questions. This is something that I was talking to you about, and because like everybody here in Strapi works super hard, and our team is not a team of infinite engineers, so it's very important to prioritize. And when I was talking to you about like some of these future DEITS, not have it like we have export, import, push, and pull, which I think is really awesome, and the potential and the groundwork that it sets up for the future is amazing. But we were talking, and we also have a lot of our community members, they're always talking about TypeScript. They're like TypeScript. And so like you were saying, like you were saying before, and Ron says, excellent, thank you. And you're welcome, Ron. Awesome question. And it's like, which one? Like, what do we do? And so you were saying for this quarter, you're committed to TypeScript. So can you talk a little bit about the plan? Can you mention where we are in TypeScript and Strapi right now, and then talk about what you're working on and some of the improvements you're making? That'll be awesome.
Yeah. I know last year, around the time that I was starting at Strapi, we added a lot of typings to Strapi that have helped a lot of people, but have also been imperfect and are sometimes causing people to run into issues. So our goal for this quarter is to finish typing pretty much everything in Strapi. I believe our goal for the complete project is in 4.12. So that's when we should have full TypeScript support, everything working. And as we complete it, there are little bits and pieces that we are releasing over time. I believe in the next version of Strapi, for example, the type generation will be updated, and we will be adding a feature to rebuild your types as you use the content type builder as an experimental feature. That was actually just added today, if someone wants to check that out.
Nice.
Experimental release. TypeScript. We have also started converting Strapi itself into TypeScript. This last couple of weeks, we've converted most of the CLIs to TypeScript. The Strapi Create app is now in TypeScript, and all of our generators are in TypeScript. And we also have several internal modules in TypeScript. So we're slowly getting there. The goal for V5, one of the goals is to try to get Strapi entirely in TypeScript by V5.
Yeah, like
not sure if we'll get there, but that's the hope.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it sounds like you have a lot on your plate, so we're not making promises. But the goal, though, like I said, in terms of engineers and people that work at Strapi, literally Derek and I, and mostly, like I'm starting to fall in love with Strapi. Not Strapi. I love Strapi already with the TypeScript. TypeScript was like tough for me because I was just like, there's all this extra work you have to do. Like it's like, why could just be like the Wild West, do whatever I want with JavaScript. But here's the thing I discovered, like once you do like, and I'm still like a TypeScript beginner, but once you get comfortable with using TypeScript, when you go back to vanilla JavaScript project, you like something's missing. And then you find yourself, wait a second. And then the value of TypeScript, you're like, I get it now. This is beautiful and wonderful. So I know some, like maybe most people already started doing TypeScript. I know some people saying they're just jumping in to TypeScript. From your perspective, working in TypeScript, like what would be like your sales pitch to someone who is on the fence learning TypeScript? Like, what would you say to them?
Just so many fewer bugs. I mean, the first time you have a bug from a typo, you'll realize no more typo bugs. That's pretty much it. As soon as if you get a variable name wrong, sometimes it depends what you're using. If you get a string wrong, it immediately tell you, no bug.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Andrew has a question. And or not that Andrew here. Hold on. I'm clicking all the people typing comments too fast. Plans for Vite. I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't think that's we're thinking about what we're going to do with Strapi front end for V5, and I don't know if we have the complete answer yet. And this actually like another segue. If you're joining in a little bit late, we started Strapi V5 steering committee, which allows anybody to participate and kind of give their feedback, things you want to see in version 5. So let me throw that link again. And Andrew, you'll be perfect like to join. And, and anybody here in chat, join the Strapi steering committee for helping us plan V5 so we could have this open discussion about all the new features coming. There was a question from Maxa, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name wrong. She asked how to remove homepage on Strapi panel, or how do you add something else there? So what I would say for like questions like this, a good place to go to is join us on Discord. And Monday through Friday, we do have our Strapi open hours, 12:30 CST time, where we could like answer these questions. But in short, Strapi does have some ways to customize the admin panel through injection zones, but there's only few in certain places. So you would make a plugin, add your functionality, and inject it into one of those injection zones. Now, this is not something that we officially recommend, but it has been done. If you wanted to override certain functionality in the admin, you can find it inside the core code, inside your Strapi project, like inside your node modules, and use something like patch package to make those changes to suit your use case. But great question. And then Andrew Lucas says, I created some PRs to move in the direction of lowering components from plugins, possible in V4 or for V5. So hold on a second. I created some PRs to move in the direction of lowering components from plugins, possible in V4 or V5. That's a great question. I haven't, explored that part of it.
I have to take a look at the PRs and see how it's done. As long as it's not breaking anything, then it should be possible. But I know in V5 we are changing a lot. That's our opportunity to break things. So,
and make them better.
Yes,
that's right. That's awesome. That's awesome. And if you have any questions for Ben, this will be a good time to do it. I know he's a busy engineer here at Strappy, and I do want to be, mindful of his time. So please ask. And so we talked about DEITS. We talked about all the different changes in TypeScript. Is there anything I didn't mention that you wanted to share? Or
at the beginning, you were talking about security, and I just wanted to say I was actually one of the main developers working on this fix for the security and working with the security researcher. And I mean, he did a great job. He was great to work with. Really helped out. And just wanted to let everyone know, like, we take security very seriously. Following up that issue, I just held a security workshop this week to go over best practices, and we have a very strong focus on security at Strappy, and we're going to be keeping an eye on everything and doing a bit more investigation.
It's amazing. It's amazing. What was really amazing, because I read the article that GoCCam wrote, and one thing was a pretty intense, very breaks down everything. And one thing he said that stood out, which made me very happy, because I work at Strappy. It's always nice. He pointed out the way Strappy responded to the vulnerabilities and how we handled the situation and how we started working on the fixes right away. He said we should be a use case to other companies to see how to work with researchers who find vulnerabilities in their project. So that's kind of really nice to hear, and really awesome. And I know there's some questions about other CMSs. And so what I'm going to say is the world is a big ocean, and there's always the right thing, or I wouldn't even say the right thing. There's always a better thing for your particular use case. There's a reason why some people still use Squarespace for whatever project they need to build. The one thing that I would say with Strappy, and I was going to kind of share one of my personal projects, the fact that I like about it, especially from the developer standpoint, if something in Strappy doesn't exist, number one, there might be a plugin for it. If the plugin doesn't exist, as a developer, you could create that functionality and build that plugin and share it on the Strappy market and share with the world these cool improvements. And I think that's the superpower. And for instance, my recent use case for Strappy, and if we have time, I'll quickly share it. But I created a Chrome extension, which uses Strappy for auth. And I implemented all my logic in Strappy to hit my OpenAI services. And so what my extension does, it will allow you to take a URL of a YouTube short video, and it will automatically rewrite it into an amazing blog post. So I don't really have to write anything again. I could just short, and do. And again, I made it as a silly project, but the idea was there's so much opportunity. I don't know how many people, when think of Strappy, they think a website, for business, or my e-commerce store, or something like that. But there are so many use cases. There are people that use Strappy for their IoT stuff. You could build pretty insane Chrome extensions, and there's working on Strappy and hearing some of the use cases that people use it. I'm amazed the stuff they build. And here's a great question from Endo. And he says, hi, Ben, is there a special reason why we at Strappy use Koa as a backend?
Yeah, I wasn't around when the decision was made, but I understand it was just because, I mean, that at the time, that was the standard, more or less. I do know for V5, we are looking into replacing it. So No
conversation
decisions
around
have been
that.
made yet,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, there's definitely conversation around replacing it. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, like I shared the link earlier for the Strappy steering committee. Please go participate, be a voice, help us make
Mhm.
these decisions to gather,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
yeah, it's very important for us. And a question like, so I use Express, I use Koa. In your opinion, do you have a preference for one? Like, I really like the fact that everything you could use like a sync await easily in Koa.
Mhm.
Is there like,
Yeah.
do you have a preference, or do you
It usually depends on what
the
I'm
project?
doing,
Yeah,
but yeah,
makes
yeah.
sense. Yeah, and Marcia giving us some constructive criticism. She says that we need a flow, similar to listen.
Don't know if I've lost Paul.
Hello, hello. Sorry for that.
Mhm.
And can you hear me? Wow, like my internet went down in my house. I'm literally using my phone. So if the connection is a little bit spotty, about that. Thank you for all being amazing troopers and hanging in here. Hang in here. So I am literally streaming from my phone now. Um, and sorry about that. Which is kind of interesting. What I learned about StreamYard just now is that if your internet cuts out, continue to stream. So you can't access back to share the stream will go for hours and hours. Anyway, sorry about that. Thanks for all of you hanging here. Let me check if you have any questions. Let us know. But I think Ben, thank you for being here. Really, really awesome. Um, and I see Andrew was saying, "Oh man, yelling at a cloud meme needed to be here." 100%, 100%. But yeah, so the last thing I wanted to really say here, besides huge thank you for, um, you know, Ben for being here, is that Strapi has a lot of amazing like use cases and things you could do. And I did want to kind of also talk about the fact that we have amazing community members that build amazing. I am thinking my internet doesn't like me right now, so I'm just gonna apologize in advance. I think we had a pretty amazing show already, but let me just quickly, internet, don't give up. I'm literally streaming from my phone now because my Wi-Fi died in the house. Before we go, last thing I just want to say I'm like almost afraid to share my screen, but there's this amazing plugin by Alex Bennett called Redirects. It allows you to manage redirects for your websites on Strapi. Let me just quickly show and share the. I'm like afraid to share the screen now. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Here we go. Uh, oh man, I don't know. Yeah, so he created this amazing plugin. Go check it out. I'll put a link. But yeah, and so that's the cool thing about Strapi is that there's so many ways to customize, develop additional features that don't even come with Strapi out of the box. And I believe that's the superpower of Strapi. And the last thing I wanted to kind of showcase, like I, for fun, always try to figure out weird ways to use Strapi. So I created this extension where you're able to log in, use Strapi in the backend, and you're able to basically and then post it. And the way it works, it will go to my Strapi backend. I create a custom controller. I'll quickly talk about. I created some customizations when I register. I initialize the OpenAI uh, library. I saved it to Strapi as a global variable, which allowed me to access anywhere. I made like custom routes, controller services, middleware to send an email after my blog gets posted to tell me, hey, there was a new blog post. I did that in a lifecycle hook. And so the way this application, when you put a link into the URL, it's going to go ahead and download the app 3. What is to transcribe the text, so I have the context of what the video was about, and then I'm taking that transcription from Whisper OpenAI, and then I'm passing it to text completion to OpenAI. I'm passing some prompts. Hey, like take this transcription, turn it into a blog post, add any additional resources that you feel are necessary. And the reason I did that, again, this was a fun project, is because short video could have literally not that much content. So I wanted anything that was missing be filled out with, OpenAI Chat GPT. And so, and I specified it, go ahead and return the response in Markdown that gets rendered to my website. So, which is cool. And the point that I say this is that there's so many cool ways and use cases to use Strapi. And if I was just like quickly showcase the code here, this is like my Strapi backend. And did I not share the right screen? I probably didn't. Let me see here. Share screen. I just quickly want to show you the flow for anyone that's interesting. While I do that, I actually, Ali asked, what is your opinion about TRCP? Will it be added to Strapi? I actually never used TRCP. Ben, have you done TRCP before? And what are your thoughts on that?
I've looked into it. I haven't used it a lot. I like it. We are looking into that and some other options for V5. We're seeing if there are frameworks or other things we can use that are in the in the planning for V5. Trying to decide on ways to go right now.
Yeah, and like I said, I shared the link in the chat before. We do have that V5 steering committee. So any feedback, any opinions, anything that's helpful, we want to do it in the open. Definitely join. Let us know. And man, I'm so amazed by our community that you're still here, even though we had that massive internet issue, and now I don't have internet. I'm literally streaming on my phone, which I have like one bar on my phone, and I'm impressed how well it's doing right now. And so the last thing I wanted to do is just quickly show like an example of how I use Strapi for my particular extension that I made for Chrome to take YouTube short and convert it to a blog post. And let me just see if I could share the right screen now, because I think it's cool to have all these interesting ideas here. So here's my Strapi project. And basically what I did is, inside my source, there's going to be this index.js file. And what's interesting, you have two functions there, register and bootstrap. I'm doing two things here. I'm actually registering a couple of custom GraphQL resolvers here. This is not used by my plugin, but I'm actually using same Strapi project to power my website and to power my Chrome extension, which I think is kind of cool. But what I'm doing here actually is inside the register function that runs before Strapi initializes everything else. So it's the first thing to run. I'm literally setting my configuration for OpenAI. I'm getting it from the OpenAI package, and I'm configuring those things right at the very beginning, and I'm saving it to global Strapi variable, like object. So now I will have access to OpenAI wherever I go. And originally what I did, I had it in the controller, but the issue with that, every time I hit that controller, I was constantly having to reinitialize. So I was like, oh, wow, like you could actually initialize things once in the register function and have that available to you. In terms of like how am I handling this process here inside API here, I used Strapi yarn generate and created a controller and services here. You could also do this manually, but I created folder called Open API, and here I have my routes, controllers, and services. So routes is kind of like the entry point here. So whenever someone makes a request, they will make a request to this path or this route, OpenAI/summarize, which will fire this action, create video summary, which points to my custom controller that I made. And that custom controller has a couple of different things that it does. And again, this is like a toy app that I built. So there's definitely things I could do better. But once the request comes in, it's going to fire a couple of services that I have. The first one is download the YouTube video locally to the server, then convert that video to audio because Whisper AI expects an audio file. And then I have a service that's called Open AI Request that has a couple of things that I could do. And so what I'm doing here is I am taking that audio file, I'm passing it to OpenAI, I'm getting that transcription, which basically just gets the description of the video, and then calling my OpenAI request service again with completion parameter that will take that content and pass the prompt that I have set, and it'll go ahead and send that request to OpenAI text completion, get that post. Once I get the post, I use Strapi Entity Service, and I have a content type called short post, which will go ahead and create that post. When that post is created, inside my short posts, inside content types, I created a life cycle, very simple, just to kind of play with these features. So after that content type gets created, what it'll go ahead and do, it will send an email for me saying, hey, you have a new article published. And that's handled by my email service that I created that handles that. But just quickly want to show you inside my OpenAI kind of how I'm breaking down the services. And again, like, I know there's many people of different levels. I'm like, I wouldn't say I'm a complete beginner with Strapi, but I'm definitely not like a veteran Strapi expert. And I think like it's cool for others to see all these different things and ways you could use Strapi. And what I love about Strapi, like, instead of having to create a backend from scratch, and the fact that it comes with admin panel on top of it, content management system, like, to me, like, to save time, I'll just create a Strapi project and put all my custom logic within route services and controls. If you take a look at my services, I have my utils service, which basically uses libraries to help me download the video. YouTube, basically downloading the video from YouTube, saving it to a temporary file that after everything is done will get removed. I have another service called convert video to audio, which will basically take that video, convert it to audio, and temporarily save it on the server. And one interesting thing I had when saving temporary files, I realized if I name them the same, if a couple of other users use my application at the same time, it would not work. So I had to create a way where it will create a random key and name. So whenever it's randomly saving that file to the server, there's no name or file collisions with somebody else trying to do the same thing. And then in OpenAI, I have basically my OpenAI request service that I created, and I wanted to make it a little bit flexible so I could in the future add additional functionality to it if I wanted to. And I have a switch statement which kind of checks, are you doing a completion, doing a transcription? If I wanted to, I could, in my other application that I built, I use the same pattern, and I had like image generation to use DALL-E, and I have functions that you could probably break down into additional services if you wanted to. I was fine having everything on screen. And basically what it does, it's will, depending on what I call, it will call the appropriate endpoint for OpenAI. So this one is calling create transcription, which uses text completion API of OpenAI. And if you do, hold on a second. And then if you do create transcription, it will call their create transcription, which uses Whisper model to basically transcribe your video. So I just wanted to kind of share that as to me, like, so cool. I'm literally trying to find interesting ways to, use Strapi in most creative ways. A recent one I made, I didn't share this one, but I made a cat meme generator, which basically uses OpenAI DALL-E to generate cats with these sick-looking jackets, like Balenciaga style. And then I wanted to randomly email those images to people in my contact list. Again, powered by Strapi. So am I saying you should build those type of applications? No, but it's a cool fact that you can. And so before we go, let me just look through the chat here. Okay, I love how everybody's having chat with each other as well. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, William. So one thing I was going to say in terms, because this comes up a lot, if I want to find one URL to be slug and not ID, so instead of post ID, you should be able to post my slug. I already have the slug in my item. So here's the thing. Strapi comes with core controllers that are out of the box. You have find one, delete, update. There's one more. I forgot what it was because I'm under pressure on this stream. I can't think. But a lot of times, like, because Strapi is so customizable, you could actually take that find one controller, which expects an ID, and you could override it by implementing find by slug functionality. The issue with that is that I discovered in my own personal project, because people expect find one to find things by ID. And so if you replace it to find by slug, now everything that expected this particular control to work find by ID is now going to be broken. So the better slightly solution would be is to, instead of rewriting find one to have slug functionality, you can create a separate controller, find by slug. And this is something I actually do in my application, I believe. Let me take a look here. But there's even better idea that will share with you. But I believe I do it here. Let me check it out. Let me go to posts, controllers, posts. Yeah, so I'm doing here, creating a completely new controller, which is find by slug, and then I'm able to have the functionality. Now, I said this is slightly better, but it's not the best solution. Why? Because if you look here, I'm literally doing a query, and I'm querying, using our filters to filter by slug. To be honest, I don't need to have this controller at all. I could just use a find controller, and from my front end, set up this query and say filter by slug. So there's no reason to add additional code when you don't have to. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to refactor this functionality, literally take this controller out because I no longer need it, because from my front end, I could literally pass a query and filter on the slug, if that makes sense. So so it's like the double-edged sword. Strapi is so customizable that there's so many different ways of doing things because you can. But at the same time, it's always important to kind of remind yourself, what am I doing? Is there a functionality that already exists that could help me to do that? And yeah, and like Jason was saying, using entity service to find many, but use filter by the slug, and you literally could just pass the query from the front end to accomplish that. So I just want to say thank you, Ben, for being here. I want to say thank you all that hung out during the epic internet outage. I still don't have internet. If you're like, Paul, how are you live? I'm using my phone, 1 bar connection. I can't believe it's still working. So thank you, at least myself. And it was a good practice. So if my internet ever fails, I can just stream from my phone. It works somewhat well. But thank you all. Glad to have you here. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day or evening. And Ben, huge thank you to you. I'm gonna always bring you up in conversations by being like, hey, it's not that like hard. Ben been a regular guest on these streams, because I do want to get a lot of developers outside of them being busy. And you know how developers are sometimes, like, it's just people don't believe me that I'm introverted also.
Yeah.
And this is what I tell people. People say you're extroverted. Here's the thing. Introverted means is that when I act extroverted, it saps a lot of energy to me. Where extrovert, they don't get like tired out by being like this. Like, I think like I did a presentation, and after I was done, I was talking to Derek. Derek was like, man, you're a beat. Because I was like, oh my gosh, I think I'm gonna have a crash and have a coffee. But anyway, thank you all for being here. Ben, thank you so much. We love you all here at Strappy. And remember, if you want to continue this conversation, you could always join us on Discord for Monday through Friday, open office hours, 12:30 CST time. With that being said, thank you so much, and we'll see everybody later. Bye.
Bye.